quickly got up and said, you know what? I'm going to ride in the evening.
Well, it's going to get in the 60s.
When does the clocks go back?
I was actually having that conversation. Some folks are under the impression that it's no longer going to happen.
No, I don't think
but
so.
it's still happening. It is still happening in Virginia. Is it a state-by-state thing that the clocks are no longer going back?
Let's Google.
Because I know for an extended period of time they've been trying to disallow or outlaw it. Yeah, but are some states...
By the way, Judah, it's really good if you have a microphone. People can hear you.
It's amazing.
Sorry about that.
We've never told them that. We've
First
never told
Sunday
them that.
in November.
People want to hear the voice of God.
People want to hear the voice. Man. But aren't some states disallowing this? I'm pretty sure that some states are disallowing this.
I don't know.
Are you a fan of fallback on the clock?
You know, fan is a big word. You know, I feel happier if they just would leave it to one thing and just leave it alone.
So you're a fan of not changing the time?
I think we're leaving it. I think if somebody would do, and this was not the topic of today, which is 0, by the way. So I guess this is the topic. But yeah, I think. I think the whole purpose of it originally was, to help the farmers to kind of track and all that stuff. And I think with technology, that's not such a thing any longer. I know it takes me a while to recover from the 1 hour. It's that little jet lag of it. It just takes me a while to get my body back into sync. But look, it was didn't get sunrise until 7 this morning, right?
It was, when you have an 11-month-old in the house, he wakes up quite early. It's funny, as they get
body
older,
clock.
As they get older, they wake up later. So our now 5.5-year-old is waking up later. Our 11-month-old is still on the early wake-up time. And he was up in the early 5 o'clock hour today. And, we're often up, my wife and I, before sunrise. And you're right, we often are commenting, wow, it's 7 and the sun's not up. We'll talk about that.
November 5th at 2 a.m. it goes back.
Viewers and listeners, give the show a like and a share. Judah, you can cue the intro music and just give us a 4 to 5 second countdown when we should start the program. So cue that up if you could.
Give the intro without the music, with the chatter.
Yeah. So we could bring back some intro music.
Yeah, but we should throw this out to the folks, right? Because our intro doesn't have music now. I think we got into a little bit of
The previous intro we had ended up being royalty free to start, and then royalties in post.
There you go.
That's how it was.
And but my solution to it is during the run up, we just let Jerry and I talk a little bit, and we'll do the count in, and then we'll do the hot shot.
So you're playing the Keith Smith intro, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's what we ask you to play, the Keith Smith intro.
So,
that's why we asked you to do.
This is live.
This is what Keith said to you before the show started.
I know, but you guys seemed like you were going to go on for a
No,
while.
all you have to do is give us a 3-4 seconds.
Jerry and I go on for a while? Is that even possible?
So he's playing it now, and then give us a 3 to 4 second countdown.
Then
when
we'll chat about it. So
3, 2, 1.
There we go.
Good Monday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. We'll work on that, Keith.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
We'll work on that here.
I think Smith needs to work on it. Okay, finish your intro.
We had significant time in our pre-production meeting in the green room this particular Monday morning.
Was it all of 30 seconds?
It was 30 seconds. It was 30 seconds. You're in good spirits over there. The suit is looking flawless, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, I really, and you know what, I rarely comment on another man's attire, but I will this particular morning. I do like the pink hue of the shirt, complementing the blue suit.
Thank you.
You look sharp.
Thank you. You know what? Got to be good at something. So.
Oh, stop.
Go ahead, finish the intro.
This is Real Talk with Keith Smith, online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, featuring the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith, one of the principals at Yes Realty Partner. Who's the principal at Yes Realty Partner?
Oh, Mrs. Smith.
He's just the principal. Would you say you're the vice principal?
Oh, I'm the...
Would you say the troublemaker?
I think the janitor.
No, stop
I'm
it.
the janitor.
I
get brought to the principal's office on a regular basis. I'll leave that one alone.
I can go in a lot of directions.
That is for a different show with a different
PG-13.
crowd that does not have little ears.
That's hilarious. Do you want to go to the principal's
Oh,
office?
baby, send me to the principal.
I knew you were going to say that. Judith's laughing at us. Oh, baby.
Is he really laughing at that? Or he's going, oh, great.
Oh, that
Another
was
one of
one of
these
the
shows.
funniest
They don't
things.
have guests. They don't have topics.
It's one of the funniest things you said on Real Talk with Lisa.
No, I've sent funny.
Oh, baby, send me to the principal's office. Somewhere Yona's listening and saying, behave.
Well, there goes the rest of the sponsors.
Behave. Oh, God. That's hilarious.
Yeah, thank you for making me laugh and tear up a little bit.
I'm tearing up, too.
Today is typically a bad day for me, so thank you for doing that.
You want to tell them why?
Yeah, so 40 years ago today, the Iranian-backed Hezbollahs drove a high explosive truck into the peacekeeping force in the barracks at Beirut and killed 241 of my fellow Marines, which I was in the Corps at the time. I was attached to the U.S. embassies. The Corps is not necessarily a big organization, it's rather small, so there was a bunch of people I knew that day that was killed. What made it even worse from my perspective, and just to get this out there, April of the same year, Hezbollah drove a truck into the front embassy, the U.S. embassy in Beirut, killed quite a few people, but killed a very, 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 very close friend of mine who was on post, who was on duty that day in the front, literally at the front door of the embassy, and did his very best to stop that truck, but unfortunately was not able to do that. Lost his life. So today is always a tough day for me. Particularly what's going on in the world. It just seems we haven't gotten better, right? Lost a lot of people, and we're still kind of there. I'm not taking sides. I'm just take a moment and honoring 241 Marines that were killed today, 40 years ago today, and people probably aren't talking too much about it. So I just wanted to throw it out there and do that. So thank you for letting me.
One thing that, and Judah, check your Facebook DMs there. Viewers and listeners will get to your comments. Please give some positive and kind words to Keith Smith.
To every Marine that you know, or anybody in the service in it, to tie this a little bit together, November is Suicide Prevention Month amongst veterans. We lose 22 veterans a day on average to suicide, and I'm riding on the 18th and 19th of November, and be careful, you're going to get, anybody who's watching and listening is going to get a tap on the shoulder to help donate, but I'm riding 220 miles back to back. In other words, I'm cutting it in half, and one day riding, come on, do the math for me, 111. Look at that, I did it myself.
Good job.
The second day,
on a Monday morning.
On 111 with a half a cup of coffee in me to raise money to help, because, when I got out, there was nothing. There was no assistance whatsoever. The good news is there is now, and so watch out for me. You're going to end up getting taps on my shoulder to raise it. And I want to say thank you to Nicholas Erpy. He was the first one to donate and donated $200. So
good job, Nicholas Erpy. If you're watching, Nicholas Erpy, the CMO of Emergent Financial Services, you are A-plus people. Virginia Williams, welcome to the program. Viewers and listeners, give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. James Watson, Bill McChesney, Vanessa Parkhill, Sarah Hill Buchansky, Kevin Higgins, Chad Wood, Holly Foster, Georgia Gilmer, Jamie Turner, Jesse Rutherford, Bellamy Brown, a Marine.
Semper Fi, Marine.
Dean Russell, Laura Fonner, Cully Baggett, Ray Cadell, MJ Arquette, Seth Liskey, David Puso, Rob Hubbard, Tom Powell, Nikki Chambliss, Austin Wyatt, Jen Finazzo, just to name a few watching the program right now. Viewers and listeners, put your comments in the feed. We'll relay them live on air. One topic that has come up is this one from Thomas, who's watching the program right now. And Thomas, when you watch the program, Thomas Johnson in Richmond, we certainly appreciate you quite a bit.
We love Richmond. I was there yesterday.
He made the comment, it seems like in today's era with social media, we're more in tune with what's happening in the world than when I grew up, and sometimes it's always difficult, or can be difficult, to swallow. That's true.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Just to add to that comment and to put a little bit into perspective. So the first half of the '80s, I was attached to the U.S. embassies, primarily behind the Iron Curtain. So I was in the Soviet Union, fighting the old communist thing, Cold War, for lack of a better term, which wasn't so cold in my world. But so we used to get VHS, whatever these tapes. Remember what
VHS?
VHS
Yeah.
tapes of ABC News that was 2 weeks late.
Wow.
And that's how we got our news. We had access to all the classified material, so we actually knew what was going on from that perspective. But to find out what was going on back home, it took about 2 weeks to go ahead and do that. And the only way you can correspond back and forth was by written letter. And that had to ultimately, you couldn't put that into diplomatic pouches because it wasn't a diplomatic. If I wanted to write a letter to my mother, then it would go through the censors of the Soviets or whichever country I was at the time. So my mother would get a letter that was all blacked out that basically said, "Hi, love you." Everything else was black.
Hi, love you.
Everything was blacking out. And did I ever tell you the story about when I tried to call for Christmas?
Tell that story. You have, but it's a good one. I would love to hear that story. And it's interesting you brought up Christmas. In our household, my wife is watching the program right now.
Thank you.
I appreciate her very much. In our household, we have seemed to have gone straight from September to Christmas. And we are now watching Christmas movies.
Careful.
Over the weekend, we watched Home Alone.
Okay,
we watched,
Christmas.
What's the one with Kurt Russell about Christmas? It was so good.
Oh, yeah, like the Santa Claus kind of. No, that was...
the Christmas Chronicles.
That's it.
We watched the Christmas Chronicles, and we watched the one with Tim Allen with Christmas, the Santa Claus.
There you go.
So we watched 3 Christmas movies over the weekend.
And I'm sure that had something to do with the 11-month-old.
Here's another interesting thing. Our 11-month-old it was born in November, and our 5.5-year-old was born in March.
That's right.
And our 11-month-old got the hand-me-downs from our 5.5-year-old. So he has been wearing onesies that are holiday attire since summertime because that's what fit our 5.5-year-old at the time. So it's legitimately been Christmas since late summer in the Miller household.
And who says you're not frugal?
I tell you what, they still fit.
There you go.
They absolutely still fit. We went pumpkin picking this weekend at Lloyd's Family Farm, which was fantastic, and just had a great weekend.
Yeah, we were busy working. Made a sale, which is always good. Helped a first-time home buyer buy a home, which was always a great thing.
What's the first-time home buyer price point these days?
This one was. So the definition of first-time home buyer is somebody who hasn't bought a home more than 2 years. So this buyer has never bought a home, but
so this is legitimately a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, but the sales price was at $500,000.
Okay.
So it was
in which county?
Albemarle.
Okay.
Albemarle County. So yeah, I tend not to talk too much about this, not because I'm not supposed to, but this
has it closed?
No, we just wrote it.
Okay.
Because we don't want to jinx it, right? We don't want.
We're knocking on Formica.
We don't want to.
Is this Formica?
This is
laminate?
We've been through this before. So do we want to go back there again and talk about the difference between laminate and Formica?
Okay, so this is laminate.
Laminate and Formica is the same thing. Formica is a brand name.
Oh.
It's like
I did not know that.
Q-tips are called Q-tips, but they're not.
Band-Aids and
Band-Aids,
just the generic ones.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Keith
Formica
Smith getting me smart here.
is a manufacturer that makes plastic laminate that you put on top of stuff.
I got it. Kevin Yancey says, good morning, fellas. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Kevin, and thank you for your service, by the way, because I know Kevin was in during those years. Not in the Marine Corps, he was in the Army, but thank you for your service, and be safe out there on the road, brother.
Absolutely. Viewers and listeners, comments, put them in the feed. More comments coming in fast and furious on the I Love CVille Network, but you were going to tell a story. Have you forgotten the story?
No, I didn't forget the story. I thought maybe you wanted me to pivot to something
else.
No,
I want to hear the story.
I've told the story before.
I would love to hear the story.
Yeah, so this is a Smith, because it reminded me of two things. One, of my service, and the second, of Christmas. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a mama's boy. I'm the oldest of 5. I love my mama. Was on the phone on the way in talking to her. She's, I think she's still 40. I don't know how that works, that I'm 60-something and she's still 40. But
Always 40.
But I believe she's still 40. But I haven't wished my mother and father Merry Christmas in years. I think it was 3 years. Because I was just behind the Iron Curtain. You just couldn't connect. So in order to make a phone call that was not business related, which this was not, you needed to go through the Soviet phone system, which meant that you needed to make a schedule. And it took me 6 weeks, 8 weeks actually in this case, to put that together. And you get this little chit, right? And I wrote a letter back to my father and my mother, and I said, look, there's people that are going to be listening because that's how this works, right? Don't say anything negative about communism because we'll get disconnected, right? Send a letter off, da-da-da-da. They let me put that in a diplomatic pouch, which was nice of them. So that went out. The day comes along. You had to go to the post office to make a phone call because everybody didn't have a phone. You weren't allowed to have a phone, right? So you had to go to the post office. You gave this chit to a woman that was sitting there that had more facial hair than I did. And you got in this booth, and you can hear the guy breathing on the line. My father answers the phone and says, "Are those communists?" Click. And I never got an opportunity to wish my mother Merry Christmas after 3 years. And if you don't think every Christmas I don't remind my parents of that story, you would be wrong.
And what do they say when you remind them?
Oh, stop telling the same damn story. It gets different every time you tell it, which is true.
I feel like that's Lenny doing the talking.
That is Lenny doing the talking. But I tried to wish my mother Merry Christmas, but my father opened up his mouth, and the communists, or the Soviets in this case, disconnected the phone and couldn't tell my mother. Oh, shit. That was 3 years I didn't talk to my mother.
The good thing with Lenny is you know where you stand with him.
You know where you stand with Pop, without a doubt. There is, if I grow up and become half the man he is, I'll be doing something.
I feel the same. Dr. John Shea, welcome to the show. Georgia Gilmer, hello. Catherine Lochner, hello. Jamie Turner, Bob Yarborough, hello.
So we've been talking for eons about not enough inventory, prices are going up.
The comments are coming in.
Yada, yada, yada. And I was hoping today, and depending on how the comments jump in, to kind of pivot a little bit. But if that's what the folks want us to talk about, that's what we'll do. But I kind of wanted to change a little bit and maybe throw out there in the world and say, okay, what do you love about Charlottesville, right? I mean, let's start from a positive end of it. And I just realized I don't have my sticker.
Let's put that magnet on right there.
Put our magnet on.
Real Talk with Keith Smith.
Upside down?
No, it's
there
good.
You go.
It's
so I mean, we can surely tackle whatever questions. You know, we love Stump the Chumps, as I call it. Or we love case studies.
Yeah,
we can surely do that. But you know, what do we love about Charlottesville? Why is it that people just come here in droves? Why is it? Why does that happen? Knowing A, inventory is low. B, it's expensive to buy a home.
I can answer that.
And people are coming, and let's see what the folks on the feed. You can tackle it, but let's see what the folks on the feed.
So why don't I ask the folks? Neil Williamson, why are Charlottesville coming here? Why are people coming to Charlottesville area in droves? Carly Wagner, Kevin Yancey,
and
Tracy
they've been doing
Green.
it for years.
Why are folks coming to Charlottesville in droves? Jason Howard, Kyle Irvin, Heather Walker, Johnson Village's finest, Angie Fink. Why are folks coming to Charlottesville in droves? Olivia Branch in Keswick, Catherine Lochner. Why are folks coming to Charlottesville in droves? That's a topic we want to talk about. Ivy Haynes, Cully Baggett, Ray Cadell, Seth Liskey, and Brittany Gray. Why are folks coming to Charlottesville in droves?
All different age groups too, by the way.
Absolutely. I had this conversation literally this weekend with someone that was new to Charlottesville within the last year. This individual moved to Charlottesville. Where do you think they moved from?
Probably the Northeast.
Northeast.
Anything from D.C. north.
From the Northeast.
There you go.
They moved to
Long Island. Did they have to have a funny accent?
It was not Long Island, but it was an expensive area of Connecticut.
Sure. Oh yeah, got it.
They had the ability now
all of Connecticut is expensive.
To have a remote and hybrid work environment while maintaining their job. And they were taken aback, if not surprised, with what they said was affordability.
Oh, yeah.
So they came here from Connecticut, maintaining their jobs, husband and wife, keeping their jobs, kids coming down here and said, we were surprised with what we could get for the
What
money.
age group? My age, a little less?
I'd
little under?
say older millennials.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So call it my age group.
Yeah.
Their children in elementary school. And they said they were surprised with the bang they could get for their buck with their house. They were surprised with how far the dollar went
Here.
here
Yeah.
in comparison to Connecticut.
Yeah, but that's...
That was at a meet and greet, kind of like a cookout, if you may.
But that dynamic hasn't changed,
No.
right? I've been here since '87.
Michael Plecker, I'll get to your comment. It was
Right.
great to see you at the Lazy Parrot, Michael Plecker.
Ooh,
one of
look
the
at
Shenandoah Valley's finest
There you
backstops.
go. There you go.
Michael
Lazy Parrots
Plecker.
so there you go. One of the great things about Charlottesville is you've got really cool places like the Lazy Parrot that you can go, a watering hole, and meet people.
Plecker was there for college football. I arrived for the second half of the UVA football game. They were playing North Carolina, one of the biggest upsets in UVA football history,
Sure.
the biggest road upset on Saturday night against UNC.
I would compare that to the beating of Florida State at home.
It was monumental, the biggest road win in UVA history.
Yeah.
Michael Plecker was there amongst friends. He is a jolly and social guy. I walk into the Lazy Parrot. The first person to greet me at the Lazy Parrot was one of the Shenandoah Valley's finest backstops, and Michael Plecker. He smiled, said, "How you doing?" He said, "Make sure you remind Keith Smith about that Woodford bourbon bet that we have going on. Sounds like you owe him a bottle of booze."
Do I? Okay.
And Plecker said, "Folks are moving to the Charlottesville area to escape taxes and the availability to quality health care and the overall beauty in this community." Michael Plecker, it was great to see you on Saturday.
High level, yes, and yes, right? How many that was. But the point I was going to jump in earlier, but as long as I've been here, this has been the norm, right? The norm is people are moving out of the Northeast corridor. It's always been expensive. It's always been high taxed. It's always been, just to go get a gallon of milk is a freaking chore, right? With traffic
Connecticut.
and stuff. Well, Connecticut, New York, Long Island, Jersey. Well, we shouldn't talk too much about Jersey, but Jersey.
I like Morristown, New Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey.
I like New Providence. We had clients in New Providence. New
Yeah.
Providence isn't bad.
You know,
it was a
look-
dry town, wasn't it, Judah?
From New York, you got to give Jersey folks a hard time, but Jersey's a great state. Jersey Shore is awesome on it. But this has been the norm. But what's happening is the prices are just accelerating a lot more than what they used to back then. They just are accelerating up, and but folks are selling their homes up there, and they're getting a pot full of cash, and they're coming down. So that environment, it's always been there. But I tell you, Yona and I were talking about this on the walk this morning.
This particular Connecticut family said the transition to the Charlottesville area, Albemarle in particular, has been so easy for them and their children that they are singing the praises to their fellow Connecticut friends to come down and make the move as well.
But it's the same thing would happen when I moved into Lake Monticello. Everybody knows the history of Lake, well, maybe not, but most folks know the history of Lake Monticello. At a certain point there was a company that was marketing up to New York. That's how come we got a bunch of New Yorkers there, and that's what happened. I moved down, then I talked to a bunch of people. Gesundheit, by the way, Judah. My peripheral vision saw that.
Vanessa Parkle says, and fellas, don't forget the milder winters.
The milder winters
compared to Connecticut.
Until it's the temperature. The thing about Connecticut and Northeast and here you get these wild swings, these 20-degree, 30-degree swings back and forth. In Connecticut, it's kind of consistent, right? Once it starts, and then it finishes. It finishes here. But a common misconception of people that come down from north is they think we don't get snow, and we do.
This past winter was extremely mild.
I understand that, but we're due for one of our 1-footers, 2-footers. I remember in 2009 we had back-to-back steps. So when it goes a certain way, we do get slammed with snow. I'd rather get more snow than this ice that we get. This ice down here, I do not
It's
like.
horrendous.
It's horrendous. It's super dangerous. The roads are not set up for it on that end of it. But this is not an uncommon phenomenon.
This question's come in the feed, and viewers and listeners, thanks for contributing. This is from Kelsey watching the program, and she says, Goldman Sachs sees housing starts next year slumping.
Yeah.
Can Keith talk about this?
Yeah.
If we're already behind on inventory and houses to purchase,
Yeah.
what's going to happen next year when less houses are built because the economy is struggling?
Yeah. Look, this is, again, we started it off in the beginning of the show. Inventory is not going to get better. It's not going to get better anytime soon. We had a bit of a spike. We have roughly 14 or 15 years of underbuilding. We have a ton, literally a ton, of new construction to make up, somewhere around 6 million, depending on who you talk to on it. We hit, I think, for the first time, the average of about 1.1, 1.2 million units, and that number's going to drop off, right? It's going to drop off for a couple of reasons. One is, unless you're developing with cash, it's too expensive to develop. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it's too expensive to acquire. It takes too long to develop the road. And these are things we've been preaching for years. So the inventory is not going to get better. But that being said, to be honest with you, Jerry, right now, this moment, and this was this conversation I had with this millennial buyer that we wrote a contract on yesterday on, now is a perfect time to buy a home.
Why do you say that?
So here's a couple of things. So we're in
less competition.
With less competition. We're in the quote unquote. I think we're slowing down somewhat because of traditional holiday season. That kind of impacts things a little bit on it. But there's so many people that are in this lock-in effect that they're sitting and waiting for interest rates, even just to drop a little bit. And I think that's going to happen. And when that happens, the when is the question. But when that's going to happen, people are going to be flooding in that's been sitting on the sidelines. So, like this buyer, they had enough cash for a substantial down payment. We weren't competing against other offers, which was a great, it's just a $500,000 purchase, which is kind of the sweet spot, right, as far as medium sales price goes on that end of it. We had no competitors against it. We were able to negotiate a pretty good deal. We got some seller concessions out of it, and it's a win-win going forward. If you're in the position to buy and you can do it and you can afford the prices, so forth and so on, and the interest rate, this is a great time to do it because of that very reason. There isn't any competition. So, there's always opportunities when there's a bit of a slowdown, and that's what we've got right now. Was that a decent explanation?
That was a fantastic explanation.
Look at that.
She follows by saying, if you do buy, your hope is probably to refinance pretty soon thereafter.
That's exactly right. I mean, we
Logan Wells Claylow, hello.
Hey, Logan. Yeah, we personally did it, right? Our number was way higher than, there was a 1 in front of where the current interest rate is now. But we got in because we could get in. We saw an opportunity, took it. Now, keep in mind, the sales price wasn't $500,000. We also weren't making the money that we're making now either. So it was, it was a substantial amount of money per month. But we refinanced that house several times and eventually sold it with enough money to use it to buy the new house that we're in.
This is a fantastic question. Kevin, I'll get to your comment. Grayson, I'm going to get to yours first, however. Can Keith put an argument together on why this is a good time to list your house?
Oh, great question. It's exactly the same reason it's a great time to buy. There's just no inventory out there to go ahead and do that. So it depends on, when you sit down and talk to somebody about listing or buying, the first conversations are always about relational stuff, right? It's not about, how much money you make. What is your goals? What are you trying to achieve? So if I'm getting a new job, I have to move. 80-something% of people that are selling right now have to sell, right? It's just not about a money thing. It just is about, I've got to sell. So, when did you own it? When did you buy it? How much equity do you have built in? The prices are increasing, so this is a good opportunity to do that. On the flip side, you have the same impact on what you're trying to buy, right? Interest rates are high, so forth and so on. So this particular buyer that we worked with on Sunday had a substantial amount of cash, right, that they could put down, which made their monthly nut more manageable. and then they will go ahead and redo this. So back to why there's no inventory. If you need to move, this is the best opportunity to gather as much net cash as possible from the sale. The other flip side to that is prices aren't going down. So if you need to sit tight for about a year, you can do that. Here's the flip side. If you got to sell to buy on that, now's the time to sell.
Well, the question, it's so funny you just asked that question. Sally says, has the contingency deal returned to the market since there's such little inventory and drop in demand? Are we able to sell our house to buy the next one?
So the second part of that question is wrong.
Okay.
Not wrong. I apologize. That's not the right term.
We're talking to mom here.
Yeah.
A mom.
Yeah. There is a demand.
Okay.
Right? It's just not multiple offers going on, and at certain price points there are multiple offers and bid ups going on it. So the demand is there.
So she wants to know about selling her house, a contingency. Can she do it? I guess why don't I rephrase that and call it a domino deal?
Well, we have to ask what the contingency is. So what I think the question is, can I sell my house contingent on buying another home?
That's right.
Right? Or vice versa,
yeah.
Right? On that
That's
stuff.
what she's asking.
So the answer is, to quote my dear Pakistani friend, yes, maybe no, yes, right? So it depends on your circumstance, right?
Okay.
On where you're located, right? Real estate, 6 things. We go over this 100 times, right? Millions of times. Location, price, features, condition, and timing, right? So if you're in the right location, we price it right, it has the right features, it has the right condition, timing will be very fast, and I always add, who's on the other side matters, because it does on that end of it. So then if you're in a hot location and there are multiple offers and you're on a right price point, yes, you can say, look, I'll be more than happy to sell you this house, but I need X amount of time to go ahead and buy something else. That is a real thing. If you're in a neighborhood or an area or outside that is maybe not garnering as much activity, that's why micro markets matter. We might not be able to accept contingency. So the where matters.
What are the hot locations?
Well, you know what? Looking at the spreadsheet we did last week, at one point I thought Buckingham was not. I was thinking the question maybe is what's not the hot location? Where I was thinking Buckingham, but they jumped up big time quarter over quarter. So it's not even Buckingham anymore. It's certain price points. Lake Monticello has less than 12 houses, right? The median days on market is somewhere still around 6 or 7. It's, it's pretty hard to find one that's not. So therefore, price and features and conditions matter.
This question from Kevin Yancey, somewhat bearish.
Thank you for the questions.
What's your prediction on how long before the market flips?
Kevin, that's a great question. I was always going to say, I was thinking about this while I was taking a shower, but that wouldn't be a good thing to say.
You can do that. You can think about stuff in the shower.
I was literally thinking about this question this morning, and I think the important part of that is asking when the DOMs, or what's the DOM number, days on market number, that's moving this from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And part of the reason I was thinking this is about a future show we're working on about these real estate lawsuits, class action lawsuits that are going on right now. And what made me think about that was, be careful what you wish for, you might just get it. So at some point in time, this market is going to switch. And I think when you start seeing DOMs get kind of raising up to the 30, 40 days on market, which means on average it has to more than double where they are now. On median, it has to go way more than that. I can't do the math in my head how many times. That's when you're going to start seeing this switch of seller, I think, this mentality of seller and buyer. Now, there's so many millennials and Gen Zs out there that are pent up to buy. I think if you start seeing even a slightest movement downward on the 30-year fixed, all these people are going to jump into the market. Again, that's why now is a really good time to buy. Now is a good time to sell, in my opinion.
Do you think we'll see movement on those rates in the first 2 quarters of next year?
No.
Yeah, neither do I.
No. I think you're going to see those in that. But to answer Kevin's question more directly, I think we're quite a few years out before that shift happens just purely out of inventory. You're seeing 8% not slowing it down at all.
Do you think it goes higher?
No, I'm talking about slowing down buyers willing to buy. The pool, we've talked about this before. The pool of buyers are so deep, right? It's just getting shallower, but it's still pretty deep. It's not 20 feet deep. Maybe it's 10 feet deep or 12 feet deep or whatever it is on it. But that buyer pool's there that can afford the purchase price, that can afford the interest rates, that have enough cash to bring down on it to kind of make the payment manageable. I think it was Bloomberg did something this morning, and I have to look it up, or was it yesterday morning? Did you see what the medium, what the salary needs to be?
114,000, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I read that. It was Bloomberg.
So do you remember what it was last year?
Tell me what it was last year.
I got to open up and look at it, but I think it was like 77 grand or 80.
I actually do remember that.
80 grand. It was a substantial jump from 2022 to now. A lot of that's the interest rate, right? But $114,000 or thereabouts, which, oh, by the way, is awfully close to our area median.
123,300 according to HUD here.
That's a substantial jump. That's a big number, right? Two school teachers don't make that kind of money.
No, they do not. They do not. Comments coming in fast and furious. Jason Howard on Rio Road. Do we see 10% on the 30-year fix before we see 5% again?
Say that again?
Do we see 10% on the 30-year fix before we see 5% again?
You know, I should break out the crystal ball.
That is a crystal ball question.
Look, I had the
multiple people saying they love the show.
Thank you. I about a year and a half ago, the president of UVA Credit Union, told me, don't be surprised. They were predicting in that year, we didn't quite get there, that we'll see 9%. I think you're going to see 9 or 10%. I think the feds want the housing market to slow down.
I think that's definitely true. They're doing that.
But the reality of it is, I don't think it's going to. I may be wrong. I mean, I thought 8% would slow things down. They're not. I don't think 9% will. I don't think 10%. I think.
So do you think we see 10% before we see 5%?
You know, I don't know, to be honest with you. I gave up on guessing that. It's surely going in that direction, though, right?
Would we see, I'll rephrase Jason's question.
I don't think you're going to see 5% for a very long time.
I'm going to rephrase Jason's question. Will we see 9% before we see 5%? How about I make it even tighter? I'll make the spread even tighter. Will we see a 9% interest rate before we see a 6% interest rate?
What's today?
I'll tell you what it is today in a matter of moments.
Change, right? 8.25, somewhere along those lines. Yeah, I mean, I think 9%'s a gimme. I think you're going to see that grow, particularly if we bump, even though
30-year fix is just over 8.25.
Yeah, that's what I figured, about 8.25. So I think 9 is a realistic thing, particularly, you know, the Fed's going to probably do at least, well, they got one more, is it one more rate meeting?
They do. They do, yes, they do.
They're probably going to bump in another
I think they will as well.
On that, though there is no direct connection between the two. Direct connection.
Yeah.
There's an indirect question. So the question, take a look at the screen there, brother. The question, that's for the show that we're going to be working on for it. It's New York City just did something pretty big in my industry.
Eventually we need to talk about this.
The
agents are waiting for us to talk about it.
We
and you
do.
got a hell of a lot of agents watching the program. Right?
We do.
You're kind of at the forefront of real estate here in Central Virginia.
I know
Woody
that.
Fincham, welcome to the program.
I know that,
and they also know you got the cojones to talk about this stuff.
And I've been in the.
Lloyd Snook, welcome to the program.
Hey, Lloyd, how you doing, brother? Hope what I gave you helped.
Set the stage. At least set the table.
I need.
Set the table.
I need a little bit more of this lawsuit to tweak out a little bit before I get into it a little bit, because I'm in conversations with folks that are in the know, and I just want to give this a little bit of time.
Could you give the W's?
The who, what, when, and where?
Yeah. I would feel like that's within the confines of. Yeah. Because that's it. It's in the news.
It's in the news, and that's going to grow.
Not yet in mainstream media, is it?
Yeah. I think that's about ready to happen.
I think that's about ready because it's in the industry pubs.
It's in the industry pubs.
And and it's now penetrated the financial
It's not
news.
even. So what we're talking about, and so this is the term.
Multiple people are like, "What are you guys talking about?"
We're talking about the TV screen. Can't you
I know,
see it?
that's what they're
What's wrong
saying.
with you? Don't you know we watched the
in the I Live Seville studio? You want to put the studio camera to the?
You'd have to turn the camera around. Right?
Is Judah even listening to us? Right there?
Hey Judah. Hey Judah.
The studio camera is constantly set.
Did you see that?
On
We got a
CNBC.
sign.
We did.
Judah, we got a sign.
Here we go. It's constant. I mean, that's what we're talking about. People, I now see 7 comments. What are you guys talking about?
So what we're talking about is the class action
That's
suit.
good. Now you go back to us.
Hurry up, Judah, will you?
He's like these.
Can't you keep up with
He's
us?
like these idiots.
The good news is we're not in Batman and Robin outfits.
And we straight up embrace it. I embrace it.
So what we're talking about is this has been going on for a very long time. There is a class action suit that's currently being heard in Kansas. It's just finished week number 1. We're starting week number 2 today. And what the essence of the lawsuit is the decoupling, and that's the word that I've settled on. It's the decoupling of the buyer brokers commission and the sellers brokers commissions. So the thing that was on the television that is now on the national stage is New York City has its own version of NAR, right? That if you're an agent in the city of New York, these are one of the things you need to belong to. So in January 1, they're going to formally decouple the two, meaning that the seller will pay the seller's agent and the buyer will pay the buyer's agent unless some other arrangement. And the reason why I'm a bit hesitant to talk about it in detail, because there isn't a lot of detail being come out publicly about exactly how this transaction is going to happen, how exactly it's going to impact real estate transactions. That being said, if you're a realtor right now and watching this, your world is going to change very quickly, right? And we need to, as professionals, be prepared to adjust to that and move forward. I've literally, Jerry, we've got slides I'm working on and so forth and so on that will save a show for that. I'm just waiting for a little bit more of this lawsuit
To materialize?
to materialize. I think there's going to be 1 or 2 more settlements before it's over with, based on the information I've got. So I've been kind of wanting to tread a little lightly on that. But at the end of the day, if you're a real estate agent and watching this and you're going to want to know how to move business forward in the future, stay tuned because we're going to talk about it in a big way.
Matthew says this: does Keith expect buyers who will start to have to pay the commission themselves out of their own pocket to be more aggressive with negotiating the percentage they allocate to their representation?
So that's the part of the problem. Nobody really knows how this is going to move out. So what's happening here is associations, in this case, the city of New York, the New York City version
This is
of
people interested.
yeah, I'm sure it has. Are about ready to put out their rules. So I'm really curious to see how their rules are going to be and how to move forward. The answer is yes, and maybe no yes. I think ultimately what's going to happen here, for those agents that are watching, if they ever done commercial transactions, I think that's the route we're most likely going to go, where the buyer's agent is going to have to, which I think is a very good thing, by the way, demonstrate to Jerry, who's my buyer, we just did this on the weekend, what my worth is, right? What my value prop is, how much I get paid to do my job to help you because I'm really good at it to do that. And if you're able to have that conversation, and there's this little thing called a buyer broker agreement that you better make sure you have signed before you start talking to folks or opening up houses anyway, then this is just a matter of how I get compensated. Does that make sense, Jerry?
Yeah.
And it could be directly from the buyer. It could be an addendum to the contract that the seller pays for it, which if you read the article that was posted on the TV, I think that's the path New York City is going to go. The seller's still going to pay it. It's just going to be negotiated in the whole transaction, which, by the way, is exactly how commercial deals are done. Did that make any sense?
Fantastic explanation.
Okay.
More questions are coming in about this.
The details of it is a difficult thing to have because it's extremely fluid at the moment.
Do you think it will be? This is a very good question. Do you think with buyer representation, instead of a percentage, the industry may transition or pivot to a lump sum to the representation up front?
So let's,
that's based on hours worked, like other professions.
So let's put a full stop there.
Okay.
So always has been.
Yeah.
And that's the bit of
Your daughter says hi, Dad.
Hey, sweetheart, how you doing?
Hi, Dad. With
exclamation. Great time to get into the.
When are you going to come back on the show? Please come back on the show.
Maybe
I had fun with her on the show.
Yeah, sure. Even with the little Ravenna.
Come back to the show. Please.
So what a lot of people don't know, and I think that's part of the premise of it, commissions, what I get paid, has always been negotiable. It's 1 egg, 2 eggs. We call it whatever you want to call it, right? It's always been negotiable, right? So I don't think that's any big revelation. I just don't think the general public knew that. And I can tell you from our perspective, we've always. I love taking care of buyers. It's always been my thing, right? I think I'm very good at it. I'm also very good at describing what my worth is. And I know what I'm worth. I've been doing it for a long time. I've owned a bunch of businesses, failed a bunch of times. So I know what it takes to go ahead and do this, and I'm capable of explaining that in verbal and or written form to a buyer. To me, it's just a negotiating how much it's going to be and who's going to pay me. Exactly like commercial. Most commercial listings don't have a buyer agent percentage in it. So you need to negotiate it into the deal. And if you've got the skill to do that, you'll do very well. If you don't, you need to learn the skills. I know we're teaching our folks this now, our partners now, to help with that, because this is inevitable. This is not an if, this is a when it's going to happen. The exact details are up in the air, but it's going to happen. It's too much on the front news. It's out there. People have settled. We may win. Me meaning NAR may win the lawsuit, but it's going to happen. And do you know why this is going to happen? There's a whole thing that's going on out there that nobody's talking about.
What's that?
Very few people.
What's that?
People are talking about. The Biden administration in the beginning.
I think the agents are learning from you right now.
The Biden administration, and you can Google all this. You don't have to take my word for it. The Biden administration, I think it was about a year ago, did an executive order which gave the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, the right or the ability to amend how we do business. So at any given moment, one person, one person who runs the FTC can write a few words in a code somewhere, in an ordinance somewhere, and our whole world has changed. So the likelihood of that happening is kind of minimal. My suspicion is, and this is based on one-on-one conversations what I've had with the major CEOs in this industry.
Heavy hitters.
What's going to happen, everybody's going to wait to see what happens with these lawsuits. Everybody's starting to kind of figure this thing out over the course of time. And if the FTC doesn't like what happens, they'll just write new rules. Now, new president can come in and change everything, but at that point, the process is already moved forward. But we deal, Jerry, I've been doing this.
Deal with this a lot.
Yeah.
This is not new for you, but there's a lot of. My God, game agents.
My God, we went from a book that stood in an office somewhere that if you wanted to find something out about a piece of property to.
A lot of folks don't have that institutional memory, my friend.
No, they don't, and particularly.
You've been doing this 38 years.
Yeah, and particularly the agents that have come on in the last few years, this will be a bit of a tweak. We're joking about Yvonne. There's a couple other new agents that I'm talking to. This is going to sound weird, but this is like the perfect time to get into real estate right now. It's the perfect time because You've got to learn the skills. You've got to know how to do this job and take care of your people. A couple of years ago,
Jonas says even turkeys could fly in the wind.
you know, if you had a pulse, you can do it.
So
And-
folks are asking me to get back to the comment that was just relayed live on air. Will the buyer representation and or seller representation turn into a lump sum, or this is the cost will pay us to do?
No, it's what I negotiate with you. It's always been that way. It's what I negotiate with you. The premise of the lawsuit is that the seller set how much you as the buyer agent gets paid, and I think that's the premise. You know, if you boil it down to a simplistic term, that's where the beef is, right? That supposedly there's a rule that says that, and there's conspiracy, which I think is probably not the case. I've been doing this for a long time, and you always talk to people about, well, all commissions are always negotiable. The question is, will I be willing to work for that or not? That's the question. Maybe not. Maybe I will. We negotiate commissions all the time, but all the time reduce our commissions and reduce our number of eggs, because Yona yells at me when I talk about commission because I'm not supposed to do it. But how much eggs we get paid, or chickens or turkeys or whatever. That's always been the case. Do it all the time.
One of your best skills is the ability to adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
You learned that in the Marine Corps.
You have to learn that. That is a primary thing they teach you: adapt and overcome. And Plan A always falls apart. Plan B always falls apart. And if you're lucky, Plan C worked. But you keep on going down the list.
Kimberly asked this question. She's watching in Short Pump.
Hey.
Is this the most change he's seen in the industry and his career in the industry? It's a good question.
So I've been calling this the 40-year O shift. So that means, yes, I think there is going to be a 40-year O shift in the industry. I may be wrong. I tend to be wrong more often than I'm right.
That's not true.
But, well, on some things. I'm generally right about the things that are not pleasant. And this is not going to be a pleasant shift. And depending on who you read, you know, and this is, don't listen to me, do some Google searches. This has been out on the New York Times, Bloomberg, you know, this is out in the...
I mean, it's on CNBC regularly now.
Yeah. So
over the last few weeks, I'm routinely seeing it on CNBC.
Yeah. So it's going to start growing. This is the proverbial snowball that's been kind of rolling down the hill for a little while. Now it's going to turn into a bit of an avalanche, and the folks that are preparing themselves for it, that's in my industry, will do well as any shift happens. You know, we were asked the same question in the middle of COVID, right? Is this the worst or the biggest shift? These things happen. Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller, but there's impact. What I was been asking myself is, this is great. Wait until, who is it, Kevin? Wait until the buyers are in control. And the sellers are going to be, people seem to forget 2008, 9, and 10, when sellers were throwing, I'll pay X number of eggs more than everybody else just to get buyers, right, to come into their house. Right now, it kind of looks a little bit easy. The sellers
Walk me through that sscenario. What do you mean by that? Unpack that.
Yeah, so...
You're doing a good job today, Keith.
Yeah, thank you. Sellers would say, look, I'm going to offer X number of eggs more on my house. Instead of 6 eggs, I'm going to offer 8 eggs or 10 eggs or 2 eggs or whatever it is to incentivize the buyer, right? The theory behind it is if I
you drive more traffic.
You drive more traffic.
Because you got more to gain, so you're going to get people showing it more, working harder to sell it.
I want to get this out.
Yeah.
This is important. You can repeat it. What have I been quoted to say about my why in this business? What is my why?
To help people with one of the key aspects of life, food and shelter.
We get to help people with one of the essentials that are required for a trip around the sun.
Right.
Food, clothing, and shelter.
Okay.
I promised Joan I would never again on the show use the money number.
Okay.
But 2008, 2009, 2010, we lost everything we had. So there's two things, right? We helped somebody with shelter, which is a key thing. The second thing, we lost all this stuff. And how do you think we went from that to doing very well now? How did that happen? It wasn't money. How did that happen?
You guys have a commitment to doing it the right way.
We took care of people first.
Okay.
You always take care of your client first, regardless if it's a half an egg, a quarter of an egg, a 0 egg, 20 eggs. It doesn't matter. You take care of your client first. You take care of your seller, your buyer first, and the eggs follow. Now, you have to be able to describe what I do to earn my eggs and how I do it to earn my eggs. But at the end of the day, it's to help with that one thing, that shelter, to go around the earth in 12 months on that, to help people get that. And if you do that,
you'll be successful.
You will be successful. Success is not about money, right? Success is walking into, they opened up a new ice cream shop at the lake.
Ooh.
And you know how much I love ice cream.
What'd you get, Rocky Road?
No. It's
chocolate chip cookie dough?
No. So is your wife still watching?
Let's see here.
Because she'll appreciate this.
Yeah, she is.
So, and you may have had one when you go up to Long Island, but it's a Carvel style ice cream.
Huge fan of Carvel. I know she is as well.
Oh yeah.
Very
and
nice.
It opened up on Friday, and if you don't think
It was the line out the door.
If you don't think I was there Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, hey honey, can I pick you up an ice cream?
Okay.
I was in there. But, look, the reason I kind of brought that up a little bit is they saw the market, they took care of the people, the line went out the door, service was a little slow, everybody was patient. But when I was in that line, there was 24 people we helped buy houses. And we had a conversation. How you doing? How's the family? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It was all about connection and was all about dealing with people at a personal level. And what we do for a living is just that. We help people achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. You do that, you'll make money in this game. You don't, if you chase the money, you'll be out of the game very quickly.
Keith Smith dropping dimes right now. Viewers and listeners, it's resonating with them.
It's the coffee.
Oh, the coffee's kicking in for Keith Smith right now.
It might have been a little bit.
Keith Smith dropping dimes on a Monday morning here.
Does anybody even know what dropping dimes mean anymore?
Yeah, I think people know what dropping dimes
It's a
mean.
quarter, right? Can you even find a phone booth?
Well, dropping dimes in this context means dropping knowledge.
Yeah. Got it.
So when you drop a dime in basketball, you're assisting somebody with a bucket.
So that's the difference between me and you in the streets.
Uh-huh.
If you're dropping a dime, that means you're ratting on somebody.
Yeah, I think the context has changed.
Yeah.
I think the context has changed.
Well, that has a lot to do with being 60-something.
Your guest from Friday, who's a candidate for Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors, James Schoenster.
Good job.
He mentioned that he lives in Fluvanna. He's got a young family, young kid, that he would be unable to afford his house today.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me. And he said that was one of the reasons why he wanted to get, one of the reasons why he's running for Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, look, back to that conversation from my perspective, the last question I asked was to me the most important. Do you understand that this is a 40-hour-a-week job and it's going to be a lot of work? Because you can sit here, you think you know the answers, but you don't. Not till you sit behind that dais and then realize the complexity of the job. It's a, regardless of political beliefs one way or the other, to sit behind that dais is a difficult thing to do.
No doubt.
You're going to upset half the people and the other people are going to love you. And that flops back and forth, but you need to make the decision. The second thing that they said, which was very encouraging to me, was that their decisions would not be district focused; they would be county focused, which is what I wanted to hear. So we shall see. We're fortunate. We got two really.
Those were two great candidates.
We have two good candidates.
A lot of folks say that the focus should be district focused.
Yeah,
and it's the folks in the district that are electing these folks to office.
The problem with that is That may have been the case 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But all of this, what we're doing right now, we're just so interconnected. And you can't, whatever happens in one district impacts the other district. Whatever happens in Fluvanna impacts Charlottesville. I believe that in my heart and soul, and vice versa. So it's why I'm so passionate about this regional approach for things, because if you kind of don't do that way, we're either going to get run over or, whatever multiple possibilities might happen.
Ricardo Cruz Duran.
Hey, Ricardo, how you doing?
Welcome to the program. We love
Ricardo,
when you,
I think we're slated for the third Monday of next month to have you sit in
he's
front
going
of
to
us.
come on the show. He's fantastic on the show. Ricardo Cruz Duran.
We're excited because I think if I remember the stat correctly, by 2050, 70% of all sales will be Hispanic. So I may have that wrong. Ricardo can chime in and correct me on that, or any of the folks that are on NARRAP. But we're excited. Every third Monday of the month, we're going to kind of focus on the Hispanic buyer and seller. They're growing tremendously, and we're excited to have that opportunity.
Questions are coming in. I just got a DM about the topic we're talking about.
Which one?
The eggs and the commission.
Okay, got it.
May I mention this on air? That's what I ask. In fact, may I mention on air?
Well, we'll respect any.
Well, that's why I ask.
Hey.
When they come in via DM, I always ask. If it's a comment on the feed, it's
That's
different than a DM.
Yeah, totally.
That's why I always ask.
Totally.
And that's why we get the information we do, because we ask the question.
But on our eggs debate that we're having, or conversation we're having, what I hope I demonstrated is at a high level kind of what's going on, and then at a high level, there's going to be potentially multiple solutions to it.
So
hold on a second. So before I get,
you got a crap load of realtors watching right now.
before I get the tough question, one of the things that will have to change is seller concessions. We talked about this earlier about seller concessions. Right now, and if there's any loan officers watching, please correct me if I am wrong.
There are 3.
Okay, please correct me if I'm wrong. But at the moment, as it stands right now, a seller cannot do seller concessions to pay my eggs, right? To pay whatever amount of eggs that I have negotiated, either with the buyer, the seller, however I am being compensated. At the moment, I believe that's not allowed. So if that's the case, one of the simplest fixes to this would be the regulator saying, okay, now it's okay to have eggs, the buyer's eggs, number of eggs, be paid. I've been very cautioned about this, from not to use percentage of commissions and stuff like that. We're just going to call them eggs for the sake of this conversation on it, because I don't want to lose my license.
Okay, eggs it is. We don't want that either.
But the reality of it is, if that happens, then at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to normal, right? So it's just a matter of negotiating everything with the seller. But you're going to have skills. Go ahead, buddy. You're breathing in heavy.
Well, this is from a realtor.
Good.
The realtor said, and I responded to the realtor, may I mention this on air? She says, yes, if you keep it anonymous.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a local realtor. She says, I may be banned from real estate for this comment.
Well, we don't know who you are, so you will not be.
But to be 100% honest, the real heart of the lawsuit is that, while in theory the commissions have always been negotiable, the reality is the trade associations and the limitations rules to MLS participation have led to prevailing practices by agents where commissions are only slightly negotiable at best. I've seen agents, not all, but it's certainly very common, avoid sharing listings that are offering less than 3% buyer commissions. Yep. She says, and there are a vast majority of brokers that will not work for less than a certain percentage. And as someone with experience outside of real estate, I respectfully still believe that real estate sales people service do not match the fees collected when compared to other professions. In my opinion, there is a lot more commission fixing done in practice than should be. The associations, CAR, NAR, etc., preach one set of ethics, but do not always seem to practice what they preach. The associations really are there to protect the agent's best interest, not the client's best interest, and it's lots of lip service.
Well, so any association, its main focus is always to protect
Its members.
Its members. So I don't think there's any public, regardless of the association, on it. Look, that's the essence of the
I
lawsuit.
appreciate the cojones and
Yeah.
courage and gumption and chutzpah behind that comment.
So that's the essence of the lawsuit, as has been outlined. That's part of my reluctance to talk about it, because a lot of this has to be shaken out from a legal perspective on that end of it. But what I do want to get out is it's change. It will change. It'll change. We just saw it live there in New York City. It's changing. They're decoupling. So I prefer to focus on the conversation about how I get paid as a buyer's agent is now going to be, at some point in time in New York, it's as of January 1, it will be decoupled from the seller side of it. So they're going to be separated. That means I now need to negotiate, which I do every day anyway, because that's what I do on it. But you're 100% right. There's another New York Times article put out, which I do not believe this number, said 80% of the real estate agents are not going to get out of the business. That's a ridiculous number. I think you're going to see 30 to 40 get out. I think you're going to see that anyway, because sales are down, volume is down, people are not.
I think New York Times predicts 80% because the margin won't be there anymore. You're going to have to work harder for less.
So if you read into that article, it was somebody that doesn't know gosh darn thing about how to do real estate. It was some academic that was doing some analysis. Where that person was right, though, is there will be a decrease in agents. That was happening anyway, right? We're down, 40, 50% in volume year over year? It's going to happen. People are going to retire. People don't want to do this anymore. They're making 20, 30 grand a year. I'm going to go do something else. There's always a natural attrition of this that goes up and down in that. But, to cherry pick that comment apart, at the end of the day, that's what this lawsuit's about. And when it gets settled, we'll see. It'll probably end up going to appeals. It's probably going to take a long time. But you will see associations, in my opinion, start revamping how they do business, which I frankly think is a good thing. And I frankly think it's a long time coming. I think I, as a buyer's agent, should be able to explain to Jerry and his wife how I do my job, how I get paid, and how much I'm worth. And if you can't do that,
should be in the game.
I didn't say that, but you should reevaluate your profession.
Because that's a key aspect of the game.
So let me put it this way. If I'm not good enough to negotiate how much I get paid, then I'm not good enough to negotiate how much you're going to buy a house. It's that effing simple.
There you go.
It's not that complicated. If I can't negotiate with you or how I get paid and how I do my job and demonstrate how I do my job and how good I am at it, and this is what I'm worth, then what am I going to do about when it comes time to negotiate your money on your house that you're doing it?
Keith Smith on point here. Keep going. Keep
And
going with
by
this.
the way-
This is resonating.
By the way, what is our number one thing that we do as real estate agents? What's our number one attribute?
You have your clients back.
We negotiate. That's our number one skill.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We negotiate for a living. If I can't negotiate, and I'm probably going to get my license handed back to me by the end of the show.
I don't think so. I think you've handled this extremely well. You've handled this very well.
Yeah, I've been cautioned by my supervising broker, AKA Mrs. Smith, to tread very lightly on this, and I am hopefully doing the best I can. But the information that I want to get out to realtors that are watching this is it's coming. The when is in question. The what is in question. The how is in question. But it is coming, much like the conversation I had with our partners this time last year when I said, because at this time last year we weren't at double mortgage rates, right? Mortgage rates were starting to climb. I said, watch out, your revenue is going to be down 30 to 40%. And darn it, I called it. We're down about 30 to 40%. And if you didn't plan for that last year, when you're in my business, you're having a tough year.
Comments coming in. This.
What time is it?
It's 11:30.
Oh, shit.
I know the time flies when you're
So
sitting
we'll
in.
pick this up. It's up to you.
That's
It's-
been
I
the
don't-
follow-up question. When is Keith going to do the master class on this? Also, this comment from
think I
Carly.
just did it,
This
so.
comment from Carly Wagner. Individual agents like Keith should be the ones proving their worth rather than large associations, assuming all agents are worth a set percentage.
Yeah, we need to stay away from percentages and eggs and all this kind of great stuff. This is all about the ability to demonstrate the agent's ability to do the job.
When are you going to do? Is this going to carry over to Wednesday?
We could do that. I actually don't have
I think
anything.
this is the first
planned.
many of the people in this community are hearing this.
I do not.
This is the first many of the people in the community are hearing this.
Yeah, I know. I don't have anything planned for Wednesday and Friday. I really wanted to do this, and thank you to the folks on the feed and stuff like that. You guys are wonderful. I really didn't want to do this until I had a bunch of slides showing up and let this.
How's this going to impact the mortgage brokers? That question just came in the feed.
Yeah, so that's the problem. The problem is there's going to be all these questions I don't have answers to, right?
You got a home inspector who just left a comment.
Yeah, I don't.
Jerry, please don't use my name. Home inspectors are paid with a flat lump sum for the work we provide.
Yeah.
Appraisers are paid with a flat set fee for the work they provide. This should be the way the industry should operate. A set fee for the work provided.
No, that's not true. I mean, I've negotiated home inspections with home inspectors. So the point is, the eggs have always been negotiable. Maybe the general public didn't know that, and shame on folks who have not told them that. I can look you dead in the face, Jerry. The last time we did 3 eggs or 4 eggs or 6 eggs, I can't tell you the last time we did that. We negotiate our number of eggs all the time. Give eggs back to people to help them make transactions and help them move into their homes. So I just don't want to get wrapped around the axle about the number of eggs. The bottom line is, whoever that home inspector is very good. He has a set fee. I'm glad for it. But I need to demonstrate to Jerry, to my buyer, what I'm worth. The other thing that's nobody's talking about, this is also going to have to be a conversation with the seller. So the key word is if, right? This may not happen. But when you have New York City saying, I'm decoupling it, right?
Probably going to happen.
It's probably going to happen. When you have certain large companies already settling, that we don't know what the terms of those settlements are yet because they're not public, right? Well, we don't know that. And so I just want to get it on everybody's radar that this is kind of on its way. Exactly what our crystal balls will.
Here are some extra questions, and it's 11:30. Extra questions. In Keith's scenario of 2008, if this decoupling does happen today, what if sellers offer larger percentages to sell their homes in 2024? How will that impact things?
No, it's always been the case. You can do that now. By the way, dig into certain listings. There's certain listings that are offering portions of eggs.
Go ahead.
If you bring a buyer.
Another comment.
So that's always been there. That's never not been there. Go dig into, if you have an opportunity, go ahead and dig in. I saw one come across my email the other day that they'll offer a portion of an egg if you bring me a buyer because the house isn't selling for whatever reason.
We're not going to get to all these comments here. Another comment has come in. Will this birth even more discount brokers?
It could. Who knows?
Often the service you get, and I'll speak, I don't want to speak for him, but often the service you get in the discount market is not akin to the service you get in the traditional market.
We're going to bring Yvonne. I'm going to try to sweet talk Yvonne to come on.
Just watch
and talk about this. I can tell you this much. I've been doing it for 35 years.
37 years.
No, 30. I've been married 37 years.
No, you got into this in...
I got in this in
87.
87.
87.
Got married in 86. Been in the business since 87.
Yeah, so you've
Might
been,
have somebody do the math. It's
been
long enough.
almost 37 years.
Over 3.5 decades. It is never, back to the question about the biggest change, it is never, I don't want to use the word difficult, but the process that's required to go from listing a home, selling it, and closing it, or finding a home, going, what we do isn't, put it on the market or find a home. That's minimal in what we do. The amount of work that's required and the skill level to get from, hey, I want to buy this house that we just put a contract
Significant.
in, is significant.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple times over what it used to be 10, 20 years ago.
A lot of people don't realize that the getting it under contract is
I often say that. That's the easiest.
the beginning of the job.
That's the easiest part.
Right,
That's
right.
the easiest part of
Yeah.
it. Finding the home, getting it under contract. It may not seem that way
Yeah.
right now, but that's literally the easiest part. And that's the reason I want to bring Yvonne in, because, as a millennial, I can do this.
Well, and she also, was it 13 offers?
We went through 13 houses.
13 houses for your daughter?
I think the offer, the house that we won had 20 offers on it. I can't remember how many months, 6 or 8 months ago or something like that. But if thumbs are working, it's 11:33.
I know. We're not going to get to all these
I
comments.
promised you that I wouldn't run over, and I tend to run over. So, and actually, we're over theoretically.
We're 2x over.
Yeah, by what I pay for.
Yeah,
so,
we're 2x.
So thank you.
2x
Thank
over.
you.
Today. 2x plus. Judah Wickhauer, Keith Smith. This
We'll
maybe
pick it up on Wednesday.
comes back Wednesday.
We'll
Maybe
start
the
with a couple
slides
things.
on the Wednesday because.
Nah, I've got.
Okay, you
I
want to
gotta
wait?
Make money.
Okay.
I gotta make money,
Okay.
brother.
Okay.
But we'll work on something on that. The people that are really asking questions, do yourself a favor. Do some Googling. Never look at one source. Look at multiple sources, right? Because one source might be leaning one way, the other way. That's just the way you check news.
I think you pretty much just brought this to.
Well, yeah. We don't know how it's going to shake out, guys, so we got to repeat that. But if I was a betting man, and I've tend
You are a betting man.
I'm a betting
You're a betting man. We're both betting men.
Betting man.
That's what an entrepreneur is.
Yeah, just by waking up, right? There is going to be a shift here. And what that shift is going to look like is kind of being formulated right now.
So folks are asking timelines when this is going to be expected. Folks are asking the impact to brokers' mortgage. Folks are asking the discount
So that's-
story,
that's
the
part-
lump sum story, set fee story.
So that is part of the reason I was been reluctant to bring this up.
I didn't bring this up.
I know that.
Okay, this was not me
I know
this
that.
time.
I know. I was reluctant to bring this up. And it's just my damn ADD.
I know.
My
You
ADD
saw it on the
my
screen and
ADD
started talking about
my
it.
ADD kicked
That's
in
what happened.
And it was squirrel, and phew,
Yeah, that's
there we
exactly
go.
what happened.
There's not answers to these questions. That's the problem. The problem is we can, what's that word? What do you use?
Pontificate?
There you go.
Yeah.
Can't say that word. We can do that. We can take it from a perspective of decades of experience, but nobody really knows how this is going to work.
Keith Smith. RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. The show is
I
archived
wanted
at
to talk happy stuff.
RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. This is important, though.
So hey, if you
This is important, Keith.
So if we'll end on this, if you know a Marine or see a Marine, pick up the phone and tell them you love them. Lost 241.
I love
Marines
you.
today. Thank you.
Love you, Keith.
Thank you. Lost 241 Marines 40 years ago today.
RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. He's class all the way through. So is Yona. The Smiths.
Did you say something about my ass?
No, I said your class.
Oh, got it. Sorry. My hearing aids picked up ass. I'm sorry.
Judah Wickhauer is our director. This is Real Talk with Keith Smith, archived online at RealTalkWithKeithSmith.com. Thank you for joining us. The conversation continues Wednesday.
And here comes the text.
So long, everybody. Take care.
Oh, God. Here they come.